You ever have one of those mornings where you open your front door expecting the same old sunrise and the paper on your porch, but instead you walk straight into a reality show you never auditioned for? That was me standing barefoot in my driveway, blinking at three luxury SUVs lined up like they owned the place. One of them blocking my garage, another crushing my late wife's rose garden, and the third sitting pretty on the wheelchair ramp I'd built for my mother. Welcome to suburbia, where even parking wars get the full HOA treatment. And there she was, Karen Blackwood, the self-declared queen of our neighborhood, declaring, "This is now a community parking area, and if you don't like it, then don't live here." I mean, she actually said that. Loud enough for every nosy neighbor and brunch guest to hear. In my mailbox, a hand-lettered sign, "Overflow parking for HOA brunch by order of Karen." Yeah, that happened. My daughter Scarlett just glanced at me, that teenage mix of sarcasm and silent, "You gotta be kidding me." We didn't say a word. That night, as the rest of the block slept, we worked side by side, measuring, hauling, and laying the foundation for what would become the most memorable art installation this street had ever seen. By dawn, the SUVs sat neatly inside a walled fortress sealed off from the world. I wish you could have seen Karen's face. Trust me, that was just the first round. But let me back up a second, because nobody ever expects suburban warfare before breakfast. I'm Thad Morrison. Yeah, folks call me Thad, and I've lived here 15 years. These days it's me, my daughter Scarlett, 16, and my mother Dorothy, who moved in after we lost my wife Sarah to cancer. That Sunday I was supposed to make pancakes. Instead, I got a front row seat to the HOA circus. Scarlett spotted it first. Mrs. Henderson's Range Rover sitting on top of her mom's roses, and my old Civic held hostage by an Escalade. Mom called out from the back. Her voice tight, she couldn't get her wheelchair down the ramp because, you guessed it, a Mercedes was blocking the way. I could hear the frustration just under the surface. And that's when Karen herself strutted out from behind our house, dressed for tennis diamonds and all grinning like a politician shaking hands before an election. "Oh, good, you're awake. As you can see, we've designated your driveway as overflow parking for today's HOA leadership brunch," she said, just oozing confidence. I tried to keep my cool, even if my pajamas weren't exactly helping my case. "Karen, you can't just use someone else's driveway. My mom needs that ramp, and this is private property." She gave me that look, the one people save for children and people they think are powerless. As per the Emergency HOA Protocol, Section 12B, subsection 4. You know how it goes. She was making it up as she went, but she had the tone down. Community leadership has the authority to temporarily repurpose private spaces for community events. I'd read those bylaws front to back, and there was no such thing. I called her bluff. "Let's see it in writing." She didn't even blink. "Trust me or sue me," she said, just as her brunch guests started arriving. All of them in matching pastels and carrying trays of overpriced pastries. She even tried to rope Scarlett in. "I'm sure your daughter understands the importance of community cooperation. Don't you, sweetie?" Scarlett's reply, pure steel. "Ma'am, you just parked on my mom's rose garden and blocked my grandma's wheelchair ramp for a party. What I don't understand is how that's okay, or why your brunch matters more than my grandma's dignity." For a second, Karen's mask slipped, but just a second. That's when I realized Karen had made a mistake, a big one. She thought being quiet meant being weak. She figured a widowed dad and his teenage daughter wouldn't push back. But Scarlett looked at me, fire in her eyes, and I felt that old stubborn streak kick in. "Dad, maybe it's time these people found out what happens when you mess with an engineer's family." I just nodded. Game on. While Karen's crew sipped mimosas and compared fundraising numbers, Scarlett went into full recon mode. Turns out Karen wasn't even the real HOA president, just filled the vacuum when the last one moved to Florida. And nobody paid attention. Scarlett dug up all kinds of records, found that Karen had been collecting HOA dues with zero paper trail, funneling money through a management company she'd made up. Yeah, embezzlement over $50,000 in 2 years right under everyone's noses. Meanwhile, I paid a visit to Janet down the block. She told me Karen had fined her $500 for hydrangeas being the wrong shade of blue. Seems the whole neighborhood was quietly suffering, afraid to speak up. Back home, Scarlett spread out documents on the dining table like a detective. Then Mom rolled in with the deed from 1987 showing our property line was 15 feet further than anyone thought, including the area Karen liked to fence off and decorate. Scarlett found old photos of Karen expanding community space on Facebook. And in every picture Karen was taking just a little more of my property. Janet's garden, the Ramirez's fence line. That's when I called Miguel my old construction chief. If you wanted to build a decorative wall around 3 parked cars, how long would it take? He laughed and said, "What kind of trouble are you in, Thad? I told him it was the good kind." Scarlett started live streaming. She even got a hashtag trending our wall of justice. By midnight, we had the permit in hand I'd applied months ago for a landscaping project, a plan sketched out, and a crew ready. Dorothy never wanted to sit on the sidelines, showed us city maps proving there was a storm drain right under the overflow parking, meaning anything we built just had to meet drainage requirements. At 2:30 a.m., the real work began. Miguel, Carlos, Jimmy, and I measured, poured, and laid the blocks, moving fast but careful. Scarlett filmed it all for the internet. By sunrise, a 4-foot wall enclosed the SUVs, nothing damaged, just perfectly boxed in, complete with drainage decorative capstones and a sign, "Contemporary Art Installation Freedom Contained," a study in property rights and community responsibility. The neighborhood woke to the sound of Karen screaming. Her brunch guests, who'd thought they were above the rules, were speechless. Officer Martinez showed up, looked at my permit, and just shook his head. "Ma'am, this wall's on Mr. Morrison's property, built to code, cars undamaged, nothing illegal here." Neighbors came out laughing and snapping photos, and Janet offered to bake cookies in honor of the new art. Karen's husband Richard, her attorney, arrived, checked my paperwork, and told Karen, "There's nothing we can do. He's within his rights." The whole block watched as Karen for once had nothing to say. But if you think that's where it ended, you don't know Karen. 2 days later, she returned with lawyers, news cameras, and a sledgehammer, determined to tear down my wall and sue me for $200,000 in emotional distress. Officer Martinez had to put me in handcuffs, temporary detention over a permit dispute, while Karen gave the performance of her life. That's when Scarlett stepped forward, laptop in hand. "Mrs. Blackwood, before you go any further, you should know I've got footage of you planting hidden cameras on neighbors' properties, 6 different houses, months of surveillance." The crowd gasped as Scarlett played the video showing Karen creeping around at night installing tiny cameras. Even Martinez was stunned. Dorothy handed over more evidence, financial records tying Karen's fake management company to a shady developer. And when Miguel arrived, he announced Karen still owed his crew thousands for old work. The crowd, once nervous, now cheered as Karen's whole scheme unraveled. Officer Martinez read her rights: destruction of property, fraud, illegal surveillance. Karen went to jail, her sledgehammer left lying in the grass. The twist. A week later, the mayor called. My wall had solved a neighborhood flooding problem, redirected stormwater just right. The city offered me a maintenance contract and commended our community initiative. Karen was banned from every HOA in the county, ordered to pay restitution, and her husband filed for divorce, apologizing to all of us. And then Dorothy found an old will from the original landowner, leaving an extra acre to the family, showing the most kindness to neighbors. That meant us. The block threw a justice celebration potluck. Janet made good on her cookies, Miguel got new jobs, and Scarlett's live streams landed her college offers. Now, 6 months later, the wall still stands, half art, half flood control. All proof that you don't mess with a quiet family, especially when there's an engineer in the house and a daughter who knows how to use the internet. So let me ask, have you ever stood up to a bully or seen justice done in a way nobody expected? Share your story below. Let's see what kind of world we can build together. One little wall, one act of courage, one neighbor at a time.